wanted to take the opportunity and go through some of our WebAssign basics. You know, WebAssign is the graded portion of your homework, and I know that some of you do a really nice job with WebAssign, and some of you maybe haven't quite gotten into it yet. I encourage everyone to get into WebAssign sooner than later. With WebAssign, you know, it doesn't work perfectly with Excel, but I understand this when I'm grading it. I understand that there are problems sometimes with your answers. What I want you to focus on is doing the best you can, understanding the math, and if you're understanding it in the basic problems, I can go in and look at what you might be missing in the ones that have, say, decimal coefficients or decimal answers that don't seem to be perfectly aligning with WebAssign's answers. We're going to start with 1.2, that homework assignment. And there's just two problems here that I want to go through quickly. They review some very basic ideas of cost, revenue, and profit. So the first one, the cost of renting tuxes for the Choral Society's formal is $15 down plus $85 per tux. Express the cost as a function of X, the number of tuxedos rented. This is just a basic formula for cost. We have the fixed cost of $15 and we have the marginal cost or variable cost of $85 per tux. So to write the cost function, if X represents the number of tuxes that we're going to rent, then 85 times X plus that original amount of 15 would be the cost of the Choral Society's purchase there of tuxes or renting the tuxes. So what is the cost of renting 2 tuxes? We just simply evaluate the function at 2. What is the cost of the second tux? Well, the cost of the second tux is just $85. What is the cost of the 4,098th tux? Well, that too is $85. What is the variable cost? That is the $85 times the number of tuxes that we're going to rent. What is the fixed cost? $15. What is the marginal cost? $85. When you go down and you look at the graph of this, the graph that you should be choosing is the one that has a positive slope. We're starting at a fixed cost. If we rent no tuxes, you know, that's that $15 there. But then it's going to climb at $85 per tux. The next one that I'm going to do, I actually want to show you a demonstration in Excel for. So when you look at this, it gives you information to be able to set up your cost function. You know that there are 38 cents per copy, $70 per edition, so there's your cost function. This next function, the revenue function, how much is the company, the collegiate investigator, going to make? Well, they're going to make 48 cents for every copy, so that's 0.48x. This next function, the profit function, is written here in simplified form. You don't really have to write it in simplified form. I'm going to go to another screen now and show you what it might look like in Excel. In Excel, what happens is, again, if you know that you're thinking about profit is revenue minus cost, profit 0.48x minus, well, here the cost has to be written with parentheses around the cost. When you take that information and you put it in Excel, what I've done over here where you see the 1, 5, 10, 50, 1,000, those are just original domain values. I'm setting up perhaps values that I can evaluate the cost, the revenue, and the profit. The cost function I've typed in. The revenue function I've also typed in. The profit function, notice all I've done in Excel is to use the cell references for revenue minus cost. I believe that the problem is asking us to what profit or loss results from the sale of 500 copies. Well, I don't have 500 over here, so let's change 50 to 500. When I do that, it looks like I have this negative 20 that appears as profit, and we would want to go back and look at the problem and see what that means. And I think everything here is just in dollars and cents, so that would be a loss of $20. How many copies should be sold in order to break even? Break even is when the profit is zero. We've not made money or lost money. It's obvious that it's going to happen somewhere between 500 and 1,000 copies, because I can see that I'm going from a negative profit to a positive profit. So what I want to do is click on, I think I'll just start from my last cell there that has the 30 in it. Data, what if, goal seek. I want my profit to be 0. The cell that I'm going to change is the cell that has the input value, or the number of copies. Hit OK, and that's exactly what I wanted to see. At 0 profit or a break even, I've sold 700 copies. My cost was $336. My revenue was $336. Now, I recognize for some of you that this is review, but I know that in order for you to understand the rest of the problems in this activity, you're going to need to do that. If you look at number 4, the one that talks about the gymnast clothing, I've given you the domain that you should be looking at. So in each problem, even though yours will be different depending on where you are, in each problem you're going to have a domain. Well, one of the things that I want you to think about in this one is if this is the cost function that's given there, gymnast clothing sells the jerseys at $110 each. That means the revenue is 110 times X, or 110X. This profit function is coming from the revenue minus the cost. So you see negative signs in there. You definitely want to attend to those. How many should gymnast clothing manufacture to make a profit? Well, again, you're going to goal seek to 0. You want to know where break even is, but break even is giving you no profit, so you know that you're going to have to go one higher than the break even value to make a profit. Number 5 is very similar to that. Number 6 again is similar, and I want you to notice that in all of these I'm giving you the domain to use in Excel. Number 7, the demand for your handmade skateboards in weekly sales. The demand function is your quantity. So, there's a couple of things here. This one is just shortage and surplus. So you need to remember in that if you've got demand and supply, I know that you've already had a quiz on this, but you basically want to take the difference between supply and demand. You want that difference to be 0 to make sure that you have neither a shortage nor a surplus, where you've got market equilibrium. The same thing is happening in 8 there, 9, and 10. It says, which of the following functions best fits the given data? And so there, you know that you're going to go into Excel, insert a scatter plot, and then take some tests. And then what you would do is, since I've given you choices, you would be able to look at the choices that I've given you. Then it says use the answer to predict the spending on corrections in 2001. So then you know that is, I've given you the domain value. You would just basically enter that to get your value here for the answer. For those of you who this was review for, I hope you learned a little something from it. I know for some of you, these basics you still need. Good luck. Please continue to contact me with questions.